Famous words from a Pulitzer Prize winning artist, not so intimidating from a pouty 20-year-old who cries mom at the spark of trouble and also porks his own sister on the side. But it's the Targaryen way I see. Greetings and salutations. For the minds of Ryan J. Konzo and George R. R. Martin, today we're talking about the latest glimpse of House of Dragons Season 2. Beware, there's going to be some spoiler territory up ahead, so if you don't want to hear anything about Season 1, head on now. Just to preface, for my Game of Thrones purists, I have not read the books, so if you're looking for somebody that is dissecting 80 plus hours of Game of Thrones lore, that is not this channel for you. Much respect to those people that dedicate their time to do that. I leave the fancy insight to the professionals. I am simply just a humble observer at the end of the day, and you guys can decide whether or not you like the things I yap about. I cannot be more thrilled to have a show that is back in my life that I'm going to keep up with on a weekly basis, and it still leaves me wanting more. Versus me sitting through countless hours of The Sopranos, which is not for the weak. We're also just gonna pretend that Rings of Power and Dune Prophecy didn't just come out with the trailer, and House of Dragons still exceeded and beat them out of the water. And as a result, this has probably been one of the hugest marketing schemes that I've ever seen happen since Captain America Civil War. And the whole concept of this trailer picks up right after where we left off in Season 1. The king is dead, the throne is up for grabs, and there's this haunting dream of the Song of Ice and Fire that is looming over everyone in this entire show. I mean, it's the biggest call to action, especially when you have two different factions that are fighting over the same thing, and the age-old question comes up again, which is who will hold the Iron Throne and for how long? In my oh-so-valid opinion, why are we siding with the Hightowers again? And I think it's pretty evident that I'm Team Black for obvious reasons. Ain't no freaking way is any parent obligated to keep the peace after their child and their dragon was chomped and looked like shredded paper on their way home, and there was no apology attached. What did you think was gonna happen? Aemon, we're taking more than an eye. We're taking the whole family. Since everyone on Team Green loves to remind us that Alicent is a rule follower, she loves honor and duty, why is it in the king's law that he decided to declare his firstborn child and not only told the great houses, but the entire kingdom and its realm to swear fealty to the 16-year-old child, and has never redacted said statement even when Aegon was born? Like, why are we even talking right now? Which is why I'm also mildly annoyed that they would play on Rhaenyra's regret when she declared war. Despite Season 1 showing that Rhaenyra has the most amount of restraint compared to Alicent's side, who's constantly making jabs, there should be no level of backsliding. So I can understand more of where Ray Ray is coming from. For one, Ray Ray comes from a more neutral standpoint of the fact that she just wants to protect the family that she has left. She understands what war might mean to this family, and we hear her warning in the trailer. When the desire to kill and burn takes hold and reason is forgotten, we won't even know why the war started in the first place. Which is also echoing the later lines of the Targaryen family, specifically Daenerys' line, and how their father originally only wanted to burn and kill everything in sight. Daenerys eventually went that route, which in retrospect, or at least in this case foresight, didn't really amount to much of anything, but the gloves are up. We are at war. I also see the children taking part in the war being a point of contention between those on Team Black. Is it honor or pride that is avenging Prince Luke's death, and what will be left after that? We also see a loss on the green side, which might be some semblance of a funeral. And honestly, there's a voiceover from Otto, and I can't stand anything that comes out of his mouth because it just comes off as pot calling kettle. You made your choices, and unfortunately, Otto, your actions have consequences! But I can concur, so just put Alicent and Rhaenyra in a room together. Cast aside the needless bloodshed of men, women, and children, and just have these two bimbos settle the score. I mean, if we really just think about it, this all stems from the fact that this family's in sheer disarray, from genetics and in their relationship. Season 1, you see the sisterhood built between Rhaenyra and Alicent, and how they're relying on each other after the death of their mother. There's this poisonous stream that comes between them, and it eventually builds this pressure that will finally explode. Rhaenyra is mad that her best friend would smash her way through her father's grief-stricken heart just to improve the status of the Hightowers mere days after her mother had passed away from birth. Whereas Alicent is mad that Rhaenyra would disgrace the family name time and time again, starting with allegations of porking her uncle in a brothel and disgracing Sir Side-Eye Cole's knighthood. Thinking about it now, 100% of these situations would have been avoidable if they just used the word no and common sense half as much as they use the F word. No, uncle, I won't be going to a brothel with you in the middle of the night because all of King's Landing is probably there, and the fact that I have a higher status so people will automatically recognize me, and on top of that, we've had weird sexual tension since I was like 13, so what's the deal with that? Even with Rhaenyra's displeasing tendencies, Alicent is still envious of her because of the way she haphazardly can throw her weight around, deny all of her responsibilities and duties, and put her desires in front, and still expect the throne at the end of the day. Though legitimate kids they are not, the king's words are final. And we see that Alicent is the type of person to see the fruits of her father's manipulation through to the end. no matter the cost. No matter if she even repeats the toxic behavior to her terrible children. And of course, Aegon sees this as all a game. None of it matters to him. He's quite literally just big chillin'. And the only reason why Aegon is on the throne because of the misinterpretation of the Promised Prince prophecy. And of course, the king couldn't just tell people specifically what he meant instead of speaking in parables. I would think if I am dying, I'm not wasting my breath on riddles. If the Targaryens had just learned to use more than just the 4 names they have in their little name berry generator, we wouldn't even have half the problems we do now. Added with the fact that everyone on the green side is a bunch of butt munches I personally cannot stand. Sure, the whole relationship between Rhaenyra and Daemon is weird, but the whole family tree is hard to follow to begin with. And they aren't the most stacked team in terms of dragons, and also that they have children riding said dragons. It kind of just goes to show with this new trailer, are we really on Team Black or are we really on Team Daemon? I've always felt that even besides the chemistry between Rhaenyra and Daemon, that he still harbors motives to gain the crown for himself, and I really hope that the storyline doesn't end up to be him flipping and picking from the ashes between the two families. I am more okay with Daemon being the warmongering savage with quirky habits versus everyone else that is depicted to be so on the green side. That, and I think anyone would want to take the side of the man who literally won a war by himself. He only did it to prove a point. The man is so confident that these unborn dragons are gonna be ready for war the moment they come from hatching. I'm also totally not a biased Matt Smith fan. I've never seen Doctor Who. I haven't sat through and made little fan fictions about him. Who does that? Crazy. Not me though. As a result, we're seeing a lot of moving pieces and minimal features of houses that were a bigger role in Game of Thrones. From the glimpses of the trailer, we see the Great Wall, as well as the Night Watch, and maybe some Northerners that might pop up within the show, which breathes more intrigue because of the mentions of the White Walkers in season 1. And I'm curious to see if they play with any more supernatural elements, and if the Starks will eventually have a bigger role as well in House of Dragons. I will say I hope they fix my biggest gripe within season 1. The time skips were unbearable. You felt compelled to be invested in the struggle of these young characters who are fitting in a realm that is now going through changes, such as deciding between tradition and what is the king's command that is current. You also have the battling egos between siblings and friends, and that was just a whole thing that we had to go through, but again, we just settled through multiple time skips. Outside of that, I feel like the showrunners do a really good job of marrying the lore, the world building, and the characters all together to create a fun narrative for us to enjoy. And the cinematography merely enhances the narrative it's already in. But what did you guys think of the season 2 trailer? Are you Team Black or are you Team Green? Comment down below along with your theories and inquiries, and I'll respond to them as soon as possible. Like this video, of course, if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want more nerdy and quirky content. Link in the description for other added entertainment, because fun stuff happens there sometimes. But anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I will see you guys on the flip side. Bye.